All right, we are live and welcome to our intimate session here for the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. Thursday, 24th of March, 2022. I'm John Lavenia here with you and excited to share some stuff with you here today. I spent my morning doing a little bit of painting, so still making progress, getting through that garage, right? But listening to the audio version of the book that we are currently studying in the book study group. Speaking of painting, you can see I got paint on my knuckles here. See, that's what happens. But listening to Oren Klaff explain his concepts in Pitch Anything, and oh my goodness, there is so much meat in there. This week, by the way, we're going to be reviewing chapters 4 and 5. We were going to do 3 and 4, but we barely got through 3 and just kind of touched on 4. And there's so much in there to cover. So we're going to attempt to get through chapters 4 and 5 this week on Monday night. I do want to acknowledge our friends over across the pond, Mandy and crew, with Books for Britain, where they covered, they're doing a totally different book than what we're doing here on this side. So if you're tuning into that, they're going through the 4 tendencies. 4 tendencies. So that's not one that I've read. So I don't know, maybe something good. Anyways, here's what was coming up for me today as I was just jumping on here. I just finished, just before we got on here, I just finished talking with a customer in my consulting business who seemed confused. They seemed confused about, what they could potentially buy, right? There's an offer being made. There's something they could spend some money on and invest in themselves and their business and all that. But they had a lot of questions, and I come to find out they didn't quite get the message. It didn't sink in. And there were some particular reasons for it in this case. Okay. They had kids running around and they had to, multitask, which I think is a misnomer. But the point is they didn't get the message. And so that got me thinking, all right, so I need to back up, like in this particular case, I need to back up and make sure I fully deliver the message so they can make a relaxed and intelligent decision. I think the intelligent decision would be for them to buy it, okay? But they didn't get the message. So all of my talking that I could potentially do would be for naught, okay? Because they never actually saw the pitch. So that brings me to something that I think is relevant for everyone, whether you're pitching offers or you're just dealing with people in life, including yourself. Is the message getting through? That's the question. In other words, if you can describe something, here's an idea you can run with. So let's say I just described to you right now a picture, and there's a tree in the picture. And it's a beautiful tree. It's a sun with the clouds coming up, the sunrise. And, there's a little girl on a swing, right? And you can see a little cottage in the distance, right? So I'm just explaining this to you right now. And I'm going to ask you all to go and draw it. Go ahead and duplicate what I just told you on paper. And you can use whatever medium you like. Sketch, paint, watercolor, whatever. Okay. How many people do you think would get the picture that I just saw in my mind exactly duplicated on that paper? Zero. There's zero chance of it. Zero chance. Just like when we go to a movie, we may go see the same movie, but we all see a different movie because we're all seeing it through our filters. And only until we get down into scientific communication, where we're sharing statistics and particular measurements and things like that, can things be duplicated. I know some of you are cooks. I'm not. Okay. But cooks can communicate with each other in such a way where they can duplicate, with or without a recipe, they can duplicate, the performance, right? The product. They can get a pretty good duplication of, let's say, for example, the famous dish from the chef. I'm thinking Gordon Ramsay, beef Wellington. Okay, could you duplicate that? Well, if you speak chef, you could probably get pretty damn close, because you've got a more scientific approach and you've got more distinctions. You've got similar filters, similar filters. When he says a pinch of salt, you know what that means. Now, I don't know what that means. I can't duplicate that, a pinch of salt. Okay, now, if you give me scientifically, if you give me measurements, like 2/3 of a teaspoon of salt or something, okay, well, now I know I'm dealing with quantities. And, if we specify what kind of salt, because there's lots of different kinds of salt, right? I lived in Utah for years, and you just dig salt right out of the ground, right? In fact, by the way, here's a little promo for Real Salt. And I think that is produced by a company called Redmond. I think it's a family-owned salt mine in Utah, and it's pink. You guys have seen pink salt before. I know you can get it out of the Himalayas too, and spend a lot more money on it. But basically, real Utah salt. It's called Real Salt, and it's what I use. Anyway, it's pink. But the idea here is that unless we've got as much attention on something as the person, originating the idea, we're not going to really duplicate it. It's not going to be, apples to apples per se. So here's how that relates in a more personal development sense. Here's how that relates to us and what we're doing in our days, and how we're surviving and hopefully thriving and doing the things that you do. I have read some books, as you know. And wouldn't you know it, when I've read these books again, like right now, I'm reading Oren Klaff's Pitch Anything again, but I'm getting new things out of it. Here's a guy who put in 10,000 hours plus into studying, the psychology of sales and all this, and so he's got filters through which he's delivering the ideas. Okay, he uses his words, and he's got his understanding of how he's explaining it. He does an excellent job, I think. And I've got filters that I can accept or reject or ignore or neglect whatever this is that he's delivering to me via his book. Now, each time I go through it, I do it with different filters. I didn't deliberately say, oh, I'm going to now change my filters, like you do on an oil change on a car or something, although that would be really cool. Just before we went live here, we talked about, replacement body, right? Can I have a different one? Well, how about replacement mind? Can I have it? Mind is an activity, you understand? Okay, it's not something we can touch. But could I get an oil change on that? And sure enough, we do. Every time we consistently show up for maintenance, right? Reading the books, studying, masterminding, and doing the various things we do to edify ourselves, to build ourselves up, and in fact, to change the filters through which we experience life. So why have I read Think and Grow Rich 13 times? Because I keep advancing in life and finding that there were things that didn't stick last time. This customer who I was just talking to, where the message didn't stick, they were beyond distracted. Okay, they were basically not in communication. All right, so I got to redo some stuff there to get them the ideas that I'm attempting to convey. Similarly, if you are distracted and having many things going on at once, and who doesn't? Okay. But how much of that can you duplicate, can you retain? All right. So let's say you're digging into a book, or you're attempting to learn a business, right? Here are best practices with a business or something, right? How much of that are you actually retaining? There are those who say that you remember like 10% of what you hear, and like 20% or whatever of what you see. I don't know the exact numbers. Okay. But something like 70% of what you do. What's the difference? The difference is I heard it while I was also being distracted by other things, because our minds are keyed into, this or that threat, opportunity, food, right? Avoid pain, seek pleasure, right? So our minds are going all over the place. And there's been a lot of talk of like the reticular activating system. And, I recognize that because that's real for me. I didn't even see the other thing because that's not real in my world, right? We have selective blindness. And so as I'm going through life, hearing a little bit of what's being presented to me, hearing, let's say, for example, you're dealing with a customer. Okay, you're dealing with someone who could further you in business, right? Maybe a partner, an associate, someone, right? There's words, blah, 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 blah. There's some words that are happening, but can you hear the whole communication? Can you hear between the lines? Most often the answer is no. Okay, so why? We got different filters. We're not duplicating. This is the picture of the tree, but you got a whole different picture of the tree. All right. What we see, well, we think in pictures, right? So when I say tree, picture of tree shows up. The letters TREE didn't show up in your mind, probably. A picture of a tree showed up in your mind. And whatever kind of a tree you thought of is whatever kind you thought of, right? By the way, I was thinking of a southern live oak. Southern live oak. Did anyone have a picture of a southern? You probably don't even know what a southern live oak is. Okay, so that's the kind of tree, and we got them all over the place over here, and they crap all over. I mean, you can't go 5 minutes without stuff falling out of these trees, and they're huge. Anyway, see, I'm enamored with trees because I lived in Arizona for so long. We got mesquites and palo verdes and stuff, and of course palm trees. But those are not like this. This is immense. So you've got a visual. You've got a visual, and we can retain more of that if you go ahead and let's say, for example, we'll use a different one, penguin, right? Penguin. There's lots of different kinds of penguins, but the image of a penguin has made an impression upon you. You remember what penguin is. You don't need to be reminded what a penguin is. And you might be thinking of the king penguin, the tuxedo. There's different kinds of penguins, but whichever one made that impression on you, the first penguin you thought of, right? So you retain stuff more that you see than what you just hear in passing. Why is it that when we do something that allegedly we retain so much more? Why is that? Because now you're not multitasking. And you're also using the auditory and the visual and tactile and olfactory, right? And whatever, other juices from the ether, right? You might even taste it, right? So all 5 senses, you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, right? But the point is that you're not having a partial experience. You're having the full experience. What I seek to do is help people have the full experience of whatever they want, right? So as a person who is about advancement in life and in business and everything else, and with the intent to have people reach goals and be successful, as that sort of a person, I seek to deliver the whole experience to people. Now, I can't do it for them. They've got to be interested enough to dig in and get their hands dirty and do it themselves. In some cases, that's not even a good metaphor. Get their hands clean. Maybe that's a better metaphor, because a lot of times the things that stop people from doing, from reaching and from executing and promoting themselves and making the sales and becoming successful in business, is whatever they've been running that they did retain because of what they did or didn't do in the past. Oh, I've been wrong, or I've been unethical, or I've been told that I was such. And therefore, let me not reach lest I harm you. Because look, I think people are basically good, right? You're not just out looking to harm people. So people can withhold themselves and be withdrawn if they feel like, well, am I even doing good? It's a bunch of kind of topics rolled into one here. Back to the idea of actually putting this stuff to use. This stuff meaning the training that you're receiving in your business actions, or your the personal development books that you're reading, or anything else you might do to edify yourself. What I'm thinking is we've got to change our filters. And I think the best way to do that is going to be to engage fully. Like when we say, for example, reading a book, you guys know I do this. Okay. I've been trained to do this, by the way. You read a book, you always have a dictionary handy. Because why? Right? I mean, especially with the English language, English is the number 1 or 2 most complicated languages in the world. I mean, it is immensely complicated, the English language. So to think that you can glibly, flip through a book and get the full, and duplicate exactly what the author, come on, right? Here's this guy Oren Klaff coming at me with these concepts, and I've got an unfair advantage. I've been in sales for 30 years, right? So, what is the newbie going to think of all this? I don't know. They're probably not going to think anything. They're probably just going to be like, oh, yeah, that sounds really cool. Overwhelm, right? Abort. Because again, with this whole action of mind, right? That's confusing. I can't confront that. Let me avoid, right? That's a threat to my comfort zone or whatever, right? And look, guys, I do this too. I'm not saying, oh, look at me, I'm amazing. Okay, actually, I'm kind of amazing. But the but the idea that, I mean, if you gave me a book on horticulture right now, I don't know how much of I would retain. Number one, I'm just not that interested. Number two, I don't speak that language at all. And I would definitely have to, dig into other texts, references, dictionaries, reference manuals and such on the topic of horticulture. In fact, even the word horticulture might get you all grabbing your dictionaries. Okay. It's about the cultivation of plants, gardening, in other words, right? So I don't speak that language. Okay. Now give me 6 months and give me interest in that, and we'll be talking shop. Oh yeah. Oh, we'll be talking turkey all over the place. Right. Oh yeah, I know all about that with the gestation and the the thing and the photosynthesis and the angular sun shade. Yeah. Okay. I'm just making this up because I don't know a damn thing about it. In fact, my wife is looking to plant a garden, a substantial garden, like growing vegetables. And so we've got this land that we just bought. And I don't know, like, all right, I mean, I know the sun comes up there, it goes over there, it does the arch thing across the sky, and here's winter, and here's summer, and there's the equinox, which just happened. And so I'm looking at angles, and that's about as far as I got, is, where's shade, where's sun, how much sun, right? Stuff like that. So she called an expert. There's apparently here in our neighborhood someone who is like a gardening expert. And they do classes and they consult, right? And I was like, well, get the consultation, because I don't know a damn thing. Like, where do you put the garden here? Because we actually want stuff to grow. And so I'm not the advisor on that deal. I could be the student, okay? But someone like that showing up, an expert, a mentor, someone who let's say shows up in your life, who's been down that road 1,000 times, how much of it are you actually going to retain and duplicate? So this is why it's so important, my friends. It is so important for us to actually use personal development principles, not just hear them, not just read the book, okay, but find ways we can put this to use, because now we're going to retain it and now it's real for us. Theory, is whatever it's worth, right, is theory. I think intellectual understanding is the booby prize. Okay. But to actually embody this stuff and to find that you are more causative, in other words, that you're more effective in life, that's the real prize. And that only comes through experiential knowledge, direct application, complete conceptual understanding, down to every little word, to the point where you could teach it to other people and you can demonstrate it in your own life. Now we're talking. So I bring this up today because I just had an experience of it. I mean, all of that, everything I just shared with you on the philosophical side relates to little incidents like the one I had just before we went live here, 4 minutes before we went live, in fact, where I had to abort a call, reroute them back to materials that they did not get. The pictures are not in their mind. Okay. And then I can resume once we've, got a bit more duplication there, right? They got the same pictures that I got. Okay. Now we can have that conversation again. Otherwise, we're not talking about anything. How's the weather? And that's what you hear a lot from people, right? Think about people you have little in common with. What do you talk about? The weather, the traffic. Yeah, there was a crash on the way here. It took me 15 minutes to get down the road. I mean, really? Okay. Yeah, tell me more about that. I'm so terribly interested. The weather, huh? Yeah, you know what? The barometer. Yep. We're at 29.95 right now. And it's been raining. So, but the dew point, I mean, that's really what you want to focus on. The dew point, because that's when you feel humid. Have I lost any of you in this conversation? Like, who gives a damn, right? Now, obviously, if you're into meteorology or you like to be comfortable, then you probably know a little bit about relative humidity, dew points, and barometric readings. But I do, just because I'm a biker and I like to know that stuff. The idea that I want to leave you here with today is, please just don't leave with an idea. That's the idea. Don't just have an idea. Act on the idea. Embody it. We can call that integrity, right? As within, so without, right? If all I have is theory and like the stuff isn't working in my life, then what does that make me? A politician, a liar, a self-proclaimed expert. I mean, not interested. Not certainly not interested in being mentored by those kinds of people. And there's plenty of them, right? So I think if you're going to do it fully. If you're interested, well, then develop your aptitude. And this way, every time you come back to recharge your batteries, to read the book again, to take that course again that you took last year, right? To do the advanced version of it. Every time you come back with better filters, more ability, and speed. Look, guys, whatever your goals are, and I know you all have goals to whatever degree, whatever they are, if we're looking at the time frame for their accomplishment, and that's a mystery to you, and it's an educated guess, I get it. Nobody knows how long it takes to reach a goal until they've reached it. Okay, well, one of my mentors, the late Bob Proctor, taught me that. All right, so that's, I think, very useful. But there is a gestation period, and it's not forever. Gail, you've got to go. Love you, Gail. We'll see you soon. But there is a gestation period. Can we speed that up? We're not dealing with horticulture right now. Okay, there's no convincing the plants to grow faster or slower. That just works by law. Okay, but we also work by law. And I think if we've been slow or held ourselves back, then we've got to look at what communication didn't we get? Did we just hear in passing or maybe see it but never actually did it? And then to what degree are we willing to commit ourselves to actually seeing the fruitage of the teachings or whatever it is that we're involved in, to the point where we save ourselves a lot of time? Because you're going to have an experience. You are. And next year on the 24th of March, you're going to be a year older. You are. And something's going to happen between now and then. Maybe something little, maybe something big. I guess you can decide that, right? And if you don't, others will decide it for you. I'll end off by saying this. I've allowed myself, because I'm pretty much off routine with some things right now, doing this garage remodeling project. So I've allowed myself to be up until 1 a.m, doing stucco repair and refurbishing and painting and things like this, and cleaning up the filth and lizard poop and a dead frog. And I mean, really interesting. So whilst doing that, though, I've got this headset, you see, and I wear the headset. And let me catch up on current events. Let me go see what's going on in Washington, D.C. How's that sound? Pretty smart, huh? Yeah. And so, in fact, let me do that until 1 o'clock in the morning, and then let me go to sleep. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. So today I said, no, I got to fill my head with some good stuff here today and get back on track because I knew I was off track. Right. And yeah, there's stuff going on. There's stuff going on. It's interesting stuff. And I can get all, keeps me awake anyway, whether I like it or not. Right. It's like, I'm awake. I am painting and being entertained, and being entertained. But I've got to come back to what actually I find workable in my life. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I see we have a couple latecomers. Welcome to the show. I'm
sorry to be late.
Hey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm still not getting used to the time difference. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, that's okay. 6 months from now, you'll get used to it again.
Yeah. No, but I've also just had a job interview, so that's why I'm late.
Beautiful. Let's open it up. So the topic on the table is engaging fully in that which you seek. In other words, not just having a glib or dilettante approach to something because you read the pamphlet, but actually putting the stuff to use so it's real for you in your life. Does that relate to anything? Maybe your entry is perfect timing, Ali. Does that relate to anything you're doing right now?
Totally. I mean, all the things that I'd set up over the last 2 years, I've realized that some of them I have just been, setting up and tiptoeing on the surface instead of really getting down deep into them and really, throwing myself at them, at one and really engaging with that. So yes, and I think I've been working a lot on my mind in focus, and that has been a huge thing of really controlling having the will, really developing my will to focus on one thing at one time during the day, just in daily tasks, really focusing on it, because you can do it. Even I've noticed, even in exercise, you can exercise, but you're not there. You can be off on somewhere else and not actually integrating everything within that exercise and really, really being present. And that's the same with each task that you do daily on your, to do with your work or business. That's so key, isn't it, to just be totally focused on that task at that moment in time. And they go. Sorry. Another thing I find is when I have a lot of tasks, I think too much about them instead of doing it, and so I'll be doing something and then I'll float off and think, oh, but you've got to do that, and then you've got to do that, and got to do that, and got to do that. So it's so crucial to be present, show up, focused on one thing at a time, basically. Yes.
Right. So you've also seen the folly of multitasking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Wow. Totally. Good stuff. Thank you, Ali. Glad you're here, and wishing you success with this new employment that you're seeking. So,
thank you.
All right. Any other thoughts on this? Engaging fully in that which you are attempting to learn or accomplish, Lindsay?
Yes, it reminded me of when you said you need to do what's important, but not that which is urgent, because, I mean, of course, urgent things happen. You have to deal with those. But is it really urgent, or is it really just a distraction versus doing the important things that will move you forward and concentrating with focus on those things and seeing that?
How do you assess that? Because that's very Steve Covey-ish, what you're talking about there, right? So urgent, okay, according to who? Important, okay, according to who? Right? So what do you do in that situation?
I face that quite a bit. My son's called wanting me to let another parent check him out, but he needs money. So I need to stop what I'm doing, go to the ATM and then take him money. And I said, well, you will have to wait. I'm not dropping everything and running. It's not, it's not urgent. Okay. I will have it to you there before you leave. But don't think I'm going to stop what I'm doing right now for that. And that's hard to tell a child, it's driving you crazy.
It depends on how many times you got to tell them. It gets easier and easier. Right.
Well, that's true.
Right. I mean, my daughter, she would go to camp or karate class or whatever. Do you have everything you need? You've got all your stuff. You've got all your stuff, right? Okay. Did you forget anything? No. Okay, great. We get her there. And next thing you know, the phone's ringing. I forgot my snack. I didn't bring snacks. I'm like, well, I guess you get to do the fasting thing today because.
Yeah. And it's hard to tell them that,
Right.
But yeah. And my schedule's it's changed too, and it's gotten a little more chaotic. So I've had to really prioritize what I'm doing, and I've added to it because I thought it was important.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to do. I've got some things I have to do. So yeah, I mean, but it's important. But it seems like I'm getting more accomplished though, because like you said, work expands for the time allotted. Now that I have less time, I'm getting more done. And
Isn't that beautiful?
It is. Some days it doesn't feel like that, but when I look back over the day, I was like, okay, I may not have gotten to call this many people, but I helped I've helped other people move their stuff. So it works. I mean, it does. It's different work, but it's really, I like it, and it's moving the needle. So. And then all of a sudden, now that time that seems like it's lasted forever, it's gonna go. I mean, so I see that now. It's coming. I can see it. It's really, really good stuff.
I'm excited for you, Lindsay.
Thanks, John. Thanks. Great talk.
All right. Any other thoughts? Okay. Then let's get together again tomorrow. We're going to have Fun Friday. And I have some stuff that I'm going to be, because I'm really digging in on this Warren Claff stuff. I've got some stuff that I'll be sharing with you more on these lines tomorrow. So look, any of you who need anything from me, our members here, you know how to reach me. In the meantime, make it a great day, because you absolutely deserve it. And we'll see you again real soon. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.